They walked Marlene Porter out in handcuffs, while my video still burned across the white wall behind her, and for once the room full of neighbors who used to side-eye me fell silent. Like the Velcro on the officer's gloves was the only sound left and right. Before they took her, I had paused on the email promising a $100,000 finder's fee for my house, so nobody would leave thinking this was just about a trash can. My name is Evan Cole, single dad, and 6 months earlier, I moved my daughter Lena to Brookridge Meadows in Maple Ridge, Colorado, for quiet. Big maples. A creek that made afternoons feel softer. The kind of place where you tell yourself the HOA makes life predictable. And for a minute it did, until the day my phone buzzed 3 times over a crooked shelving bracket, and I hit play on a hallway video of a kid in a Maple Ridge High Letterman jacket shoving my girl and saying, "Move, new girl. This is my hall." Lena is a state karate champ, not the loud kind, the breathe and center kind. Hands up, heart, down, walk away when you can. And in the clip, she shifts, guide sweeps, and Brady Porter hits the tile. Without the soap opera, a clean redirect, and she adjusts her backpack and moves on. Like she's late for algebra, and I felt pride and fear climb into the same seat in my chest because Porter is a name in our neighborhood, and not the good kind. Gary with the gavel and soft voice. Thank you for attending. And his wife Marlene with the clipboard ruler at dawn, and those newsletters that start cheerful and end with a dagger. 2 weeks before the shove, we got a note because our recycling bin was visible for 3 hours after pickup. 3. And at a meeting I heard her tell a neighbor, "Rules are for people who can't afford exceptions." And I stored the sentence because sometimes the quiet parts tell on you. You know what I mean. The night after the hallway clip, our door wore an orange notice like a medal. Unapproved lawn item. Lena's bike on the porch for 1 hour. Improper waste receptacle, the can tucked by the fence. Unkempt foliage. Dandelions circled with a little arrow, like we were starring in a cartoon. 50 each, 150 total, and at the bottom in neat script. Pain is a teacher. Learn faster. M. Porter and I stood there breathing to the hum of the porch light and decided if my 16-year-old could keep her center, so could I. So I wrote the check and attached a 10-page PDF of their own rules with page numbers. Saturday, we walked with coffee and the HOA covenant in a binder like a hymnal, and Brookridge rules are weirdly specific. Holiday decor out within 14 days. Satellite dishes painted to match the roof, political signs gone 3 weeks after primaries. So at the Porters, we found a ceramic Easter bunny. 2 months late, a satellite dish so white it hurt a sagging yard sign that should have been compost, a dead garden hose, a driveway crack. Click, click, click. 7 tidy photos emailed to the whole board with citations like footnotes, because a bully hates the sound of their own rule book read back to them. Monday was Malicious Compliance Day, or what Lena calls decisive pettiness. And before sunrise, I set 36 rubber ducks in a perfect grid across our lawn. The covenant says ornaments are fine, if in good repair, no limit on number or species. And the first duck wore a laminated copy of the rule on a ribbon, and joggers stopped. A minivan slowed. And around 9, Marlene came out and saw an army of compliance quacking silently back at her, and the clipboard just drooped because she had nothing. Tuesday, we dropped covenant scavenger hunt cards in mailboxes, squares like visible trash can. Holiday lights after Jan 15. Oil stain on driveway, and with a smiley note about learning the bylaws together. The fear turned into a game, and neighbors began to realize the Porters had more squares than anyone. That is when late one night, someone banged our door like it owed him money. And on my porch cam, I watched Gary wobble under the motion light with a clipboard held like a club and Brady bouncing behind him like he might fight the air. And I kept the deadbolt steady while Lena whispered Article 12 in my ear. Inspections require 24 hours written notice, daylight only. And we let the camera do the work. Let them circle the house and fog the glass and rattle the back gate. And then Lena slid out the kitchen side door and planted herself in the patio angle and said, "Gentlemen, you look lost. The public sidewalk is that way." And Gary spun into a rose bush while Brady charged and got swept like a bad idea. And Lena called 911 with a voice so even I felt my pulse slow. And the cops wrote trespass and public intox and left, and the next morning, the neighborhood Facebook decided I had attacked the HOA during a routine inspection, and the waves on our street went from friendly to cold in one scroll. A week later, I pulled into our driveway and found an HOA yellow sign hammered into our lawn. Notice of pending HOA foreclosure, with a list of invented violations and a total over $5,000 due in 30 days, or a lien and an HOA auction would follow. And I tore it out so hard, the posts squealed and my vision went watercolor white, and Lena put a hand on my arm and said, "Breathe. Dad, what's the rule?" And I remembered, don't let them drag you into the mud. But I also realized they weren't just trying to win a petty fight, they wanted our house, and I needed to know why. The why showed up at the Iron Forge gym during the charity kick-a-thon, where the HOA was the primary sponsor, with a table full of mints, and Lena was scheduled to spar with Marcus, one of the coaches who treats her like a peer. And halfway through, Brady climbed into the ring in borrowed headgear and told the announcer he'd take it from here, and the crowd cheered because they didn't know him yet. And he came out swinging like a lawnmower full of rocks, and Lena made him miss until he got mad and threw a knee at her head and shoved the ref. And I saw Marlene glide to the tech table and whisper, and the big screen went black. Technical difficulties, please stand by, except my brother-in-law. Theo is the kind of systems guy who sets backup routes for breakfast, and I had our private stream live and steady. And when Lena stepped in and hip-tossed Brady flat enough to make the room inhale, I lifted the red live icon so Marlene could see it, and she went the color of old paper. 2 days later, our home server booted to a flatline, and Theo said the logs looked like a blowtorch. DoD style, overwrites triple pass redundancy gone, and for 10 minutes, the hollow inside me was bigger than the kitchen. Then Lena walked in with a legal pad and said, "They didn't delete the neighborhood we ask." And we did. Door to door, permission slips in hand, and 12 houses said yes. Mr. Hammond's porch, the Miller's doorbell, a garage cam with a wide angle that saw everything. And Theo stitched a mosaic where you could watch Gary and Brady stumble into frame and hear the threats from across the street and see Lena do exactly as much force as was needed no more. While he scrubbed audio, he found something else. A neighbor's mic had picked up. Marlene hissing the day after the kick-a-thon. "Get rid of it, Gary." The videos, the emails with Northgate. "If this gets out, we're finished." And Theo typed Northgate Partners like he was trying to bruise the keyboard and pulled county planning minutes that showed a new retail complex proposal and a secondary access road sketched straight through our lot. Not the whole block, just us, and maybe 2 neighbors. And that's when an unmarked envelope landed between our pizza coupons with a printed email chain. Headers, real servers, real IPs matching. Subject, Cedar Hollow acquisition, promising a $100,000 fee to deliver our property free and clear. And the last line from the week we moved in said new owners are a single father and teenage daughter. Should be easy to push out. And I will tell you the truth, I cried at the table because some people never get tired of practicing the smile that lets them steal in daylight. We turned the whole package to the DA and Officer Diaz, but the place to break the spell was public, so we waited for the annual HOA town hall, where a recall was finally on the agenda, and I circled Article 3, Section C like a lifeline. Any resident may present information for 10 minutes before a recall vote, and when Gary tried to filibuster with words like divisive and frivolous, I stood and read the sentence, and he had to slide me the mic, and I introduced myself like I was talking to one person across the table, and told them I moved here for quiet, and found a machine designed to turn fear into money, and then I pressed play. The hallway shove, Lena's calm, the midnight trespass from 12 angles, the kick-a-thon knee, and the black screen, while our stream stayed live. Marlene at the tech table. The neighbor audio. Get rid of it. The emails. We're too close to getting that house. And then the emails themselves. The $100,000 promise, the line about us being easy to push out. And I let it stick in the air, while everyone turned their heads from the wall to the woman with the clipboard. And she tried to shout, forged and liar and doctored. And I said nothing, because when someone shows you who they are, you do not jump in front of the mirror. And Officer Diaz stepped up with 2 investigators and said, Marlene Porter, Gary Porter, we have warrants for conspiracy wire fraud and evidence tampering. We'll also be discussing trespass and harassment. And the cuffs clicked, while the recall vote went unanimous. No applause, just a dozen neighbors speaking up about fines that made them cry, and rulers at 6 a.m. and being tired of feeling small in their own yards. That's where I end it. Not the audit, not the restitution, not the new board, but the walk past the projector, with her own email still 10 feet tall, and the room finally seeing her without the clipboard. And if you think we went too far, or not far enough, I hear you, because peace without justice is just quiet. Fear and my daughter didn't win with fists. She won by telling the truth, and I didn't win by shouting. I won by pressing play. Tell me where you stand. Do HOAs protect communities or give petty power a stage? Have you seen a small rule turned into a weapon on your street? What would you have done in that gym? When the screen went black, drop your city, your story, your take. I'm reading every comment.